Hello folks, thank you for joining me today on my video. My name is David, and the purpose of this video is to teach you a little bit about career opportunity in the military, different opportunity in the college, how to use your college in the military. And it doesn't always, if you don't have any interest in the military, this can also help you as well if you're trying to go to college, if you're trying to do, I have a lot of knowledge in the military section, and I have a lot of knowledge in the education academic system. They don't always overlap, but I thought I would make use of my knowledge to help people here. So in order to keep track of time, we are going to get into it. So this video is going to talk about the military or the uniformed service, and if you want to go into the medical field in the uniformed service, right? Now there's a few branches that you have to consider. They're not all the same. They all have different benefits and different missions, and your standard of life and how you're going to live with you and your family will be different between different things. Even though I have a lot of knowledge of this, we're going to break this video down into a lot of different videos. So this video in particularly is going to be in regards to joining the service as a healthcare professional, right? If you're interested in the medical field and you want to join the military or the uniformed service, this is going to be the video for you. A little bit about my background. I am a service member of 8 years. I was in active duty Air Force for 4 years. Then I went to the Air Force Reserve for 2.5 years. And now I am in the Air Force National Guard for 1.5 years now. So around 8 years in total. The Air Force, what kind of benefits they have for you. And there's a lot of benefits for being into the military or the uniformed service that a lot of people don't talk about. One of the things is education. That's how I got it. You pay for my education. So I have a background. I have a bachelor degree in physics, and I didn't join the Air Force with a bachelor degree in physics. I joined an Air Force as a college dropout, and I used the Air Force to further my education and was able to finish. I will make a video explaining the GI Bill and all these things that comes with it. But we're going to talk about medical career field in the uniformed service right now. So you need to understand that there's two rank system in the uniformed service, right? There's the enlisted rank, and then there is the officer rank. And a lot of people get confused between the enlisted and officer, especially if you're a civilian. Enlisted are the grunts, the backbone of the military. The lower job, there's usually more room in the enlisted corps than they are in the officer corps. And you are lower than an officer. The highest ranking enlisted is lower than the lowest ranking officer. The officer corps, you come in, you have to have a bachelor degree at a minimum. Enlisted tend to be the working class, and officer tend to be the management class, a higher, like maybe higher management class. Doesn't mean that enlisted won't ever manage. So I'm a staff sergeant right now. I'm enlisted. I'm E5. So I do enlist. I do management somewhat, but I'm more of a frontline supervisor, right? So as an E5, I would be considered a non-commissioned officer or an NCO. So it would not be a commissioned officer. Right, it's not an officer rank, it's an enlisted rank. Even though it said officer on it, it said non-commissioned for a reason. Let's go into view all careers. So this is the Navy page. So you can kind of see the interest, right? So that you can see the two path, the enlisted versus the officer. And now most of the jobs, there overlap between all the branches a little bit. So let's go into the enlisted and view. So let me just go to healthcare, okay? We did enlisted, we did healthcare, and this is kind of how you would go through these things. I have to record this video again because when I was editing my video, I realized that I didn't give the information that guys to understand what are the career field, all the service. In the enlisted portion, you can go into these websites, and there are usually like assistant to the physician or the assistant to the nurse, right? The nurse are under the physician, and the people underneath the nurses are usually the enlisted. Now the nurses usually are officers as well because you need a BSN. There's a lot of pathways for enlisted to become officer, right? Become a nurse, but I think the kin to it is like a nurse assistant, right? Or if you're in medical field, for enlisted, you might be a phlebotomist type of thing. You might be a tech, or you might be healthcare administration. You might be on the desk, like a scribe type of of thing. You might do a lot of healthcare paperwork, and it's all one big career field, right? So in the Air Force, right, they're all one big career field. They don't tell you what you're gonna do. So like let's say you get in for a healthcare personnel, you thought you, or I think the name for the Air Force is like an aerospace medical technician or something like that, and it's like you think that you're going to be flying, taking care of patients in the air. You could do that, or you could be behind a desk doing paperwork. You could be drawing blood. You might be doing lab. You might be doing paperwork. Like it's a very big field, especially in enlisted. Enlisted is such a big field. It's a grunt work, right? So you're gonna be put in a lot of like very broad position, and they'll teach you the field in there. In the officer realm is a little bit different. In the officer realm, you're specialized. So you already have a bachelor degree in what you know you want to come in, right? And there's a bunch of these different things, and USPHS already show you guys, right? Pharmacist, let's say you get a doctorate in pharmacy, you come in as a captain, right? On O3, you're, and that's all you're going to be doing. Like you're going to be behind a pharmacy. You're going to take care of the entire military pharmacy yourself, right? And you're going to be a commander of that pharmacy. You can do consultation, you can do whatever. But the tech, or one of the aerospace medical technician that I was talking about, because they are moving around a lot. Sometimes some branch might have pharmacy tech as a career field by themselves, and some might incorporate it into the overall thing so that they don't have to teach as many people differently, right? So they can just put everyone into the same umbrella. So if they are missing some people here, they could just put some people there and here. So a few career field that you really want to look for in the healthcare field in the military is you go to the military website, you know, like, and if the military appeals to you and you don't have a degree yet, I would look into, let's say, audiologist, if you want to be an audiologist, pharmacist, and just look at what they require. Let's say public health officer. This is pretty interesting, right? So you just put a qualification, right? You need to complete a public health, right? Or you have to have a doctorate in veterinary medicine, which for some reason is in public health, or a master's degree in public health plus a bachelor degree in biological science, right? So you just need to make sure. So someone might have a bachelor degree in public health and a master's degree in public health, and they didn't realize that they need a biology of science degree or something such as that, right? So you need to make sure before you set on that journey, you know the qualification inside and out, right? There's a bunch of people that you can talk to in the recruiting office that they can get you in contact with the right people to get the right qualification to get you. And it's very tick marky, right? The military is very tick marky, right? I have a physics degree. I have worked as an engineer for a year and a half now, and the military would not take me in as an engineer, as an officer in the military, because my degree does not say engineering on it. It just said physics, even though physics engineering is essentially the same thing, right? So just make sure that if it says so that what it needs that exactly, right? There's not a lot of leeway. But then there's also like other healthcare field that people might not even think about. So like you have health services administrator, right? So where you could be an officer taking care of healthcare administration, right? It's not a medical, you're not going to be dealing with people personally, but you're going to do the paperwork on the back end, be leading a team that does that, and you're going to be at the head poncho. My audio just went out, so I have to record some of this thing again. We just went over how to Navy career field. The Air Force is kind of the same way, where I think I made a new video saying that, but you come to the Air Force website, you do the same thing, right? The Army is the same way. You come to the Army website, and there's like, if it said officer, aero medical evacuation officer, this is definitely an officer position. That's how it is. Now, what I really want to talk to you guys about is the USPHS, right? The United States Public Health Service Commission Corps, and that's the branch that my wife served in. She did the SR program. She served for 2 months, and the way it works is that they contract you to different agency. They don't have a base by themselves. They usually are associated with the Coast Guard. They wear Coast Guard uniform. So if you're in the DoD or your Homeland Security, And if you go somewhere else and they ask, oh, what branch you are, just say, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm in the medical field in the Coast Guard. It's a lot easier to explain, right? So the difference between Commissioned Corps and other branches is that this is in CONUS only, right? So they are usually in the United States. That deployment is only around 2 weeks when they go overseas. Versus like the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, their deployment is usually 6 months. Air Force is usually on the dot at 6 months when you go overseas on a deployment, let's say like Iraq or something like that. Navy is an Army. Sometimes they might be longer. Navy can be shorter than 6 months, but Army usually you might be supposed to be going for 6 months. You could be gone for a year because they can't. It's a very big branch and it's really hard to find someone to replace you overseas, right? They just don't have enough people. And USPHS is non-combat versus the other branches of the United States military, right? So you have the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Space Force. Six branches. And the one that, if you're going to the medical field, you're really looking at the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army. You could look into the Coast Guard, and the reason that I tell you to just say in the that you're in the Coast Guard if you're in the USPHS is that the Coast Guard has a very, very small medical branch in themselves. They have the enlisted portion, and the Commissioned Corps of the USPHS is the officer-only corps, where they supply the bulk of the medical personnel to the Coast Guard. Now, doesn't mean you're always going to belong to the Coast Guard. Let's go to job opportunity in the USPHS. You're looking at, working for, all these agencies. So Homeland Security would be the Coast Guard, the DoD would be the other branches of the military that you could work with. You could work in the Indian Reservation, the FDA, where my wife was contracted to, is the FDA, the USDA, the Department of Justice, which is the jail and whatnot, the prison system. But the biggest one that they work with is the justice system, and it's the Indian Reservation, right? But these are all the agencies you can work for. You could work for the FBI, for all I know, right? And there's a whole map that you can look. You need to just play around this website. I don't have time for that right now, right? And their model, they're very much like a military. There's a service member. They get all the benefit of a military. They are considered a veteran. They get veteran benefit. They get GI Bill. They get every single thing that a military member would. They even have the rank of an officer in the military, and they still demand the same type of respect from a service member from them in this branch. But they're not military. There's not a lot of yelling as much as other branches, and you're only going to be in state for your permanent base, right? So like when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in Korea for a year. It's not a deployment, it's a PCS, it's a permanent change of station. I was there for a year, and I had a great fun. So the other branches in the military, you are expect to go overseas and expect to go on longer deployment in your career, right? But in this, your deployment is only 2 weeks, so it's really not a deployment. It's non-combat branch, and you're not going to a combat zone. You're never going to be sent to a combat zone. You're going to be sent to a disaster area, like if a hurricane hit certain island, like in Puerto Rico, in Haiti, or in Florida, you would be the first to be deployed, like even deployed to the United States, like to Florida or California if there's a big tsunami or typhoon that hit. So this is what the USPHS is, and to look for the career field is you go down here, and something that really need to think about is if you are thinking of the medical field, come to this website first, because a lot of these for officer, not for enlisted, for officer position, a lot of these positions are also in the other branches as well. So if they have it here, odds are they'll probably have it in other branch as well. So, and if you are going to apply to a military or any branches, for the military or the uniformed service to be in healthcare, apply to all your branches. Apply to every single branch, and then if you get into all of them, that you can deny all the other one that you don't want. So if I apply to this and I got into this, I got into the Navy, Air Force, Army, and I want to go into the Air Force, I could deny it from the USPHS as well. But my wife was in this branch. She loves it. I was in the Air Force. It's it doesn't seem as fun as hers, but it's still a really nice branch, right? And there's other benefits in the military that I will make in a different videos. The best part about being in the USPHS or the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps is that the SRCOSTEP and the JRCOSTEP program. So we're going to talk about the SR first. This is the program that my wife was in, and it's the only branch in the entire uniformed service that you could do for a very part-time, a very short internship, and you get commissioned as an officer in the military, or actually in the uniformed service, where you get all the benefits, but it's only part-time and there's no service requirement afterwards. It's 30 to 120 days, and there's no obligation afterwards. And that's the SRCOSTEP program in the USPHS. No other branches does this. Okay, so the SRCOSTEP program is a program where you apply for between your second year to the end of your school year. You still have to be in school, and you're going to be working during your breaks, usually your summer break, right? So you're going to come in for an SR program, or JR program, my bad. You're going to do the JR program, and you are going to work, and you're going to get the feel for what it is like to be an officer in the USPHS. Right, and then you're going to do your part-time 30 days to 120 days in the time that you are an active duty member of the service branch of the you're pretty much in the military at that point. You get all the same benefits, every single thing, but you don't have to, after that 30 to 120 days service over, you don't have to do anything afterwards at all. The time that you spend in the JRCOSTEP program counts toward your retirement. So if you decide to do your 20 years in the service, you get to count that toward your retirement. You decide to leave and you decide that it's not for you, the military life is not for you, or the service life is not for you, there is no obligation afterward. After you're done, you get your DD-214, which is your separation paperwork, and you're considered a veteran for the rest of your life. So you can go places, and you can say that you're veterans. You can go to open a bank at Navy Federal and USAA Bank, and you can get VA loan afterwards, and it is quite an amazing thing. That's the only place that you can get, the only branch that you can do in the entire uniformed service in the United States. With the website, find out more about it. This is the only branch, though, that does not have a recruiter. So if you want to go into the other branches, you can talk to a recruiter. For this branch, there's really no recruiter to talk to. So if you need help joining it, it's really pretty easy to apply. You just apply now. The requirements are right there, and it's pretty self-explanatory. But if you need help guiding through it, since I know the system when I got my wife in, let me know in the comments. Maybe we can kind of work together to help you get in. Okay, so the SRCOSTEP program is not an internship program. It's a scholarship program where they'll pay for your final year of school, your senior year, and in return for the senior year of school that they pay for, you will serve them, or let's say you will work for them for 2 years for the 1 year that they pay. So it's a really good deal. So colleges, especially a doctorate program, is really, really expensive, right? So if you do the SR program, like let's say like college is 4 years, right? A quarter of your thing is your tuition is paid for, and they'll give you living stipend, they'll give you your commission, and your time in there counts toward your retirement. But you don't have to work when you're in the SRCOSTEP program, right? The SRCOSTEP program, it's a scholarship only program. You would apply for it. You can always say no if you got in and you got into like Navy instead or something. Now, Navy, Air Force, Army, sometimes they all have a scholarship program as well, right? The Navy, Air Force, and Army, sometimes they might have a 2 years or 3 years program. That might be a little bit better. Sometimes they'll pay for the entire medical school, depending on what field you go into. What I'm trying to pursue is occupational health and safety, because I'm pursuing a master's degree in, health physics, right? A master's degree in health physics. I have a bachelor's degree in physics, right? So now if if you're an engineer, you can always apply as an engineer. You can go around doing infrastructure for them as well. Physician, right? Physician, MD-DO, okay? If you have a PhD in biology or something, you could do a scientist. You have scientists, you have veterinarian, you have ophthalmologists, you have engineers, dentists, social workers. So you can look through this, audiologist, right? And I'll walk through a different thing. So like the MD-DO is the field that everyone think of going into in medical field, right? But MD and DO is really, really hard to get into. It's very competitive. So if you don't make it because your MCAT is too low or something like that, but you already have a bachelor degree in biology or something, I would really, really encourage people to look into pharmacy, because the PharmD program is waiving PCATs right now, so you don't need to take the PCATs. It's easier at this moment to get into the program. Doesn't mean the courses are that much easier. And pharmacists are like doctorate of pharmacy, right? You learn everything that a doctor of medicine would learn, but you have a specialty in pharmaceutical type field. You have veterinarian, which is also a easier degree to get into. If you don't get in here in the United States, you can always go to St. George's, in a different place. You can go into dentists, you can go into audiologists. So they are the same thing in the Army and in the Air Force and in the Navy. So just be sure to look through this website. I'm trying to do some academic coaching. So if you need coaching or some help, please let me know in the comments. Maybe we can set up something. Maybe we can set up an appointment. You and I can work together and we can get you sorted with doing maybe the JRCOSTEP application, the SRCOSTEP application, your application for any of these branches and what you need to work with. Now, these 3 branches, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, you should be able to get a recruiter to help you with it. I can make things more clarify and kind of help you navigate the BS that the recruiter might kind of throw your way. But with this, you definitely need a coach to walk you through, because it's very, very difficult. If you have any question, be sure to let me know. And thank you guys. And yep, well, next video we'll do a little bit about different degrees and different colleges you can go for medical. All right, have a good one, guys.